Hello there, boys and girls, and all of those in between. My name is Maliena Bitchcock, and I want to welcome you to another fabulous episode of Bitch Talk with Bitchcock, a fantastic talk show where I get to interview some of the best performers from all over. This week, so fucking excited. We have a drag legend. She has been known here in Eugene, Oregon for probably since the 90s, and she is probably one of the most popular queens ever. I just want to welcome one of my favorite queens ever, Miss Karress and Slaughter.
Hey!
Hi there, sorry, too much weed.
Oh, I understand about that, girl. I truly understand.
Well, how are you doing, beautiful? Are you surviving quarantine over there?
I quarantine as much as I can. I do work Sunday through Thursday, but yeah, I usually tend to quarantine when I come home. I may run to the store a couple of times, but normally I'm sitting here in my apartment, and girl, it's hot today.
Girl, you are telling me. I was putting on my makeup and I'm fighting it and fighting it. I'm like, just stay where you're supposed to. Oh my goodness.
I totally understand. But you look amazing.
Well, thank you, and so do you. I mean, with this beautiful hair and this bodysuit, and oh my God, that jewelry, girl.
Thanks. I'm a bargain bitch.
Me too. So, are you ready to dive into the bulk of this bitchy interview?
All right, load up the guns. Let's start firing.
Oh, well, girl, don't use that metaphor in this day and age. No.
I personally was just thinking sexually, but yeah, that's probably a sensitive subject, so I might want to tone that down just a little bit.
It's okay, baby. Well, let's start from the beginning, as always. Tell me a little bit about your first exposure to drag.
Well, my first exposure to drag, it was a long time ago, probably back in like 95, 96. And what I did is I did a cocktail party with my best friend. And it was kind of cool because I had never done it, and I ended up changing like 7 times that night. I served drinks and everything. And it was just basically was just a party with a whole bunch of friends, and it was pretty awesome. And then eventually I ventured out and about in public after that. But my first time in drag was at a cocktail party that I hosted.
But was that your first time, like, experiencing drag? Like, did you ever go and see a drag show? Was it, like, seen on TV, like, with Tu Wong Fu? What was your first exposure?
My exposure. I thought you meant like going out and about. My first exposure. Oh God, that probably was. I think the first time I saw it, show wise, because it was at a bar. It was called Club Arena here in Eugene, and everybody probably knows it more simply as Diablos, because that's the last bar it was before when it changed the name. But I went to an Easter show, and 2 people hosted. It was my mother to be eventually at the time, Diva Simone Slaughter, and Velour Montana. Yeah, and it was an Easter show on a Sunday, late at night.
Wow,
And
okay.
yeah, it was pretty cool. It was interesting. It's really interesting when you're out on the scene as a young gay boy. Well, I was 25, 26, and you have like a person hosting, and Steve was really cool, but Velour was hitting on me, and they were handing out Easter eggs, and the girl ended up handing me like Velour handed me 2 Easter eggs because she thought it was special, and she continued hitting on me in the evening. But it was interesting. It was like a really cool thing to see. Little knows that 25, 26 years later, I've been doing it myself.
Be a legend. Well, I love it. Now, tell me a little bit, what was it about drag, Caress, that made you want to do it?
Well, actually, I didn't want to do it, but my hairdresser I used to have at the time, his name was Troy, but he ended up being a trans person. He finally came out as a trans person, and she became Amanda. And when she was cutting my hair one day, she told me I had pretty eyes, and she's like, have you ever thought about doing drag?" And I was like, "No." And with some life changes and whatnot, me and my ex-wife being divorced, and then moving to Portland, her moving to Portland with my children, I ended up kind of diving into drag just to kill time because I didn't have my kids to take care of. So it was kind of weird. I had a big block to fill, and I just started doing drag from there, and it was interesting. It was very interesting.
Well, Karress, at this point, how many years have you actually been performing?
Performing probably 25. Next year it'll be 26 years.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I mean,
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I bet. I mean, the idea of having that much experience under your belts is only a dream that I've ever wanted. I've only got 15 years, but that's amazing. You got 10 years on me, girl. Now, tell me a little bit back in the day, because you started back in the 90s, right?
Yep.
What was drag like when you first started?
Drag was a lot of beads and sequins, and it drove. Me personally, I didn't really like it that much. I was okay with it. I mean, but it just wasn't my cup of tea, I guess, or like my style. But I had a few dresses. It was my experience when I first came around it here in Eugene. There was a lot of court shows, the Imperial Soccer Court of the Emerald Empire, because we're fellow empresses,
Yeah.
Empress 36, and so I went to a lot of court shows, and I volunteered my time. My very first show I did was the leather lace and Levi show, and it was a fundraiser, like all court events.
Hmm.
And I showed up in a bright fire engine red dress, silk dress to the floor, cut all the way down to my the top of my tailbone, and hair all up, and I walked in, and it was a world. That was the very first court show, which it was a world I had never seen, and it was amazing. You had cowboys, you had leather daddies, you had drag queens, and it was quite a thing to see.
I remember my first time coming to the court show. In fact, I was grateful because you were there and I met you once before. And I believe that was the year you became princess, which was far after you were empress. But it was a great experience because, again, it's that moment where you don't know when you won. You're just getting an idea what the court's about. And it's kind of intimidating because everyone's wearing these big shiny hats and big beautiful gowns, and you're just like, fuck, what did I come to?
Yeah, it's a lot. I remember it's you get it too because it's so fascinating. It's like a moth to a flame. You just like drawn in, but hopefully you don't get burnt like a moth to a flame. But but it's very interesting, especially when you get to know what they do, and you know like people don't understand that there's so many things that we do in that court system, and so many charities that we give to, and how many things we volunteer our time to, not even just drag. But it was intimidating. I won't say it was not. It was very intimidating, and look at me, 2 decades and a half later, here I am.
Well, and I am thankful that you became part of the court because, as I mentioned, I met you very early in my career. In fact, I met you when I was just a drag baby. And nothing with blue eyeshadow and messy lips and no contours. So I guess not much different than what I look like today. But, it was definitely a journey back then. And I remember meeting you, Daphne Storm, and Diva Simone Slaughter. And you guys came down to Medford and you were at the Jackson County Fairgrounds. And I am this just sloppy, messy queen in a costume from the costume store and in another dress from Goodwill. And I'm like, who are you? Teach me your ways. I'm not worthy.
You know, yeah, I remember that. And I think that you need to realize that it was you, even though, we all go through our stages with drag, and we get to learn different things. We like master our niche in that society. And for you, even if you didn't have everything together, I admired you because you were young and you were there to do what you needed to do, and you were entertaining everyone. Because I remember the one time, like I said, when we were leaving, it was hilarious that we were finally leaving and we did a few numbers, and then you were outside with your mic, outside the, like, what was it, the I don't even know what you call it, but like where the event was being held, and you were outside doing your number out in the crowd. It was pretty amazing for someone so young and who just started.
Well, I've always been an ambitious queen, and sadly back then I didn't have a lot of really of exposure to drag besides what you saw like in a movie because Drag Race hasn't happened yet, and then what I saw from you girls, and so I just knew I wanted to feel pretty and I wanted to do that softer side. And look at me now, it created a whole fucking monster, and I'm happy. Now,
Hey,
Karress, tell me a little bit how you picked your drag name.
well, let the truth be told, I don't even know if my boyfriend knows this story. I didn't pick my drag name.
What?
I was named, basically, when I needed a name, I went out and drag, I guess, a couple of times with my friends, and I went to the bar, I went to Club Arena, and I would just sit at the table and I would not move. I just sit there and I was just getting used to being in women's clothing in public because it was something I didn't do, and eventually I was going to do the leather Levi lace pageant, and and I remember somebody was like, "Well, what's your name?" I'm like, "My name's Cornell." They're like, "No, you need a drag." And I was like, "Oh, I don't have one." And so I put the word out and talked to all my friends. Everybody's coming to me with names, asking me what I wanted to be, if I like this name or if I like that name. And I hated all of them. And then my friend Coco, my best friend Pamela's ex-girlfriend, they dated for years. Um, she just said caress, and I was like, okay. And that's how I was named after DJ here in New.
Okay. And now we also have the Caress and Slaughter. So where did the Ann and Slaughter come from? I've always been curious. Is the Slaughter, like the Slaughter family, a family of serial killers? I kind of hope so.
um, I would say that I've been known to be a very strong black woman. I wouldn't say I've slaughtered anybody. I could say I'm a strong black woman. Ann Slaughter came from Diva, and at the time, Diva was together with someone named Sharky Slaughter, and they were like a performing family. And they asked me one night at a show nest, they basically wanted to adopt me. They asked me if I wanted to be their daughter, and I was like, sure, and it kind of like fit for me too. And I'm not trying to make it into a race thing or anything, but I mean, Diva Simone was a queen of color, and I literally looked up to her, and so I was like, sure. I mean, her man was blonde and blue-eyed like my man, so there's that. But but it's still a black family, I guess I would say. That's why I like to call it, because most of us have attitude and whatnot, and my siblings have all been really great performers and stuff too. So yeah, so Diva added Ann and Slaughter, so here I am, Caress and Slaughter.
And so Diva's actually technically your drag mother, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And there's not much of an age difference between you guys, is there?
No, it's so funny because that's a really interesting story. So one day I saw Anthony's driver's license. I was like, give that to me. He's like, what do you want to look at my driver's license? I said, I just want to look at something. And so I was like, I looked at it and I realized that we are only like a year and a half apart in age. And there's this really weird thing with us too, where we have this like 1.5 like thing. Like we're a year and a half apart in age. We started drag a year and a half apart in age. And then when we go back to being teenagers, I lived in Germany as a teenager, and I'm because my dad was in the service. And then when me and Anthony started to, or slash Diva, we're talking about our past and whatnot, because he grew up overseas, and we literally lived like an hour and a half from each other at the same time when I was over there when we were both teens. So I feel like there was a reason why we were like this 1.5. It's like maybe we were meant to meet a long time ago and we never did. But so we always these were like 1.5 like things with us. So yeah, so we're only a year and a half apart in age, but some of us age a little bit better.
Oh my goodness. That's kind of spooky though, that you had so many coincidences like that. And you're such a shady queen. God, saying you're so much pretty. I mean, I get it. I like being the younger, prettier sister. That's why I hang out with Fake It Nightly. Well, tell us a little bit about the character that is Caress and Slaughter.
Okay. Well, Caress and Slaughter, if I was a woman, I would probably be an entertainer, so to speak. That one of her biggest things that she uses as a prop is a pole.
Wait a minute. Wait a
Um,
minute. You lost me. You're not a woman?
oh, I know. I do really well. I love me some cosmetics. I do a really good job. So my boyfriend says. He tells me I do.
Okay, so you think you'd be an entertainer? Do you mean like a lady of burlesque, or maybe more of an exotic dancer?
I'd probably be an exotic dancer, but speaking of burlesque, I mean, let me tell you. So John Henry's used to be open in Eugene, and that was what the Drake is now. And at the time, they had a burlesque show they did there on Sundays, and I actually worked at that burlesque show for 6 months as the only female that wasn't a female. So I have been a burlesque dancer actually.
Oh boy, I love burlesque. And, I've been telling people for years that the burlesque and drag world are always meant to intertwine. And I've performed in several burlesque shows. I do it here in Eugene. We do a famous icon show that's like a variety burlesque drag variety hour, and they do that every year, that is hosted by Taylor Maiden. So I love to dabble in that world myself, just because it's nice to feel sexy, even if it's an illusion.
You know me. You see my drag. Sexy is like pretty much my other middle name. It's what I do.
I know, girl, and I can't wait to learn more about it. So, what process was it for you finding your drag persona, and when do you feel like you fully blossomed?
Um, so years ago when I first started doing drag, like when I first started, I like hit the ground running. My kids had moved to Portland, so I started doing drag. My best friend Heather, who took me to my first drag show, her best friend that she went to high school with wanted to start doing a show at Club Arena, and she wanted to call it Crisco Disco. This is Kenneth Stuck, otherwise known as Victoria Venom here in town. I call her the queen of the Whitaker. um, she wanted to do this show. It was like an 80s kind of like talk show because we would ask people, different questions. We had a big fuzzy die, and if you rolled a 2, 4, 6, you would get like a array of prizes. We had like little prizes in a large beer pitcher, and you pull out a piece of paper and we'll tell you what you want. You could win cover for the next weekend. You could win a $10 bar tab, a $20 bar tab, a large pitcher of beer, random things. And so when she was thinking about doing this show, I was like, okay, this will be a way for me to do drag more. And because we would go out to drag together and stuff, and go to party. So I said, yeah, you could use an assistant. And I said, instead of Vanna White, you could call me Vanna Black. And right now you probably wouldn't want to say that, but it was the time, and that's how I kind of hit the scene, and I impersonated Tina Turner, basically kind of adjacent from Angela Bassett doing her and What's Love Got to Do with It. And that was my inspiration of my type of, I was fascinated by the fact of her researching Tina Turner so much, and she kind of inspired me, and that's kind of where I kind of like patterned myself off of.
I love that. Now, what is your personality like in drag, and do you feel like there's a major personality change from everyday life from when you put on the lip gloss and the hair?
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I don't think I have as many. I don't have I'm not as ballsy as I am as Caress. Because when you do drag, we do have we do have the ability to do some things that you normally would not be able to do. you know,
We
and
don't talk
respectfully.
about that on polite television.
Because I've seen you, you know, I've seen you do your thing too, and I just think that that's how I pattern myself to be. This is a strong woman, a sexy woman, and I just like, you know, willing if the person there are participants in the crowd, I just feed off. I feed off the energy. I literally feed off the energy.
I love it. And you know, I get that because when you're on stage and you're wearing a onesie and you're feeling the song, it's nice to feel like that center of attention and know that everyone is staring at you and some are actually lusting after you. And it's kind of an exciting moment all in that because you're living your life, you're giving your art, and then at the same time, there's also a thrill that comes with it.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, and you know, I've had quite a few men follow me around the bar and try to figure out what's going on. Because a lot of times I don't think they get it because sometimes I think that they think I'm a female, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I'll take it. But I do like the attention, most definitely.
Absolutely. Now, tell me a little bit about. Now, you were also known to host shows quite a bit. In fact, you
Mhm.
are quite the personality on the microphone. So tell us a little bit what we can expect from Caress when she actually has the microphone.
Well, you're gonna expect for us to be real. I don't change my voice, which is funny because the voice you hear right now, it's the same voice you hear as me walk around as Cornell. So I keep it real. I talk shit. I want people to have a good time. Um, I always like to give love and stuff to the crowd, and you know, let them know that they're in a safe space, and it's a getaway that you know you're there for a show, so you can get away from the normal everyday things that you do in life, and we're here to entertain you, and we want you to have a blast while you're here.
Absolutely, girl. And you know, that's the thing a lot of these younger kids forget is we're entertainers. First and foremost, we're there to actually entertain people and put on a show. And we're not just there to cross dress and feel fancy. But as much
Yeah.
as fun as that is, but you know, I love to entertain. And I know you are one of those also. But do you consider yourself a funny queen? And if so, what do you consider your humor to be like?
That's a really interesting question. Um, I guess I see myself as a funny queen because I mean, because I say some, because you know when you're on the mic, I don't really have a shtick. I just kind of like wing it, and I feed off the energy, like I said, from the crowd. And you kind of you know you assess the crowd, you look at everybody, and I think if you are good at what you do, you can assess the crowd and know what you can, you know, what you can say and what you can't say, and it and then it does make it a lot easier when you're at a bar because people are drinking and they're just being rowdy and then sometimes you got to shut down the rowdiness and with a clever like little clever quip without like causing someone to freak out and you know want to start something. I mean, I've been in situations like that where people are just not happy and they do not want to see a drag queen or they just don't like what they see. And I think a true queen is someone who can diffuse the situation and keep the ball rolling so people can still have a good time.
Oh no, I keep my balls tucked in between my legs where they belong. We don't roll those anywhere. Now, honey doll, you are quite the entertainer just on the mic, but what can we expect from you from a Caress and Slaughter performance?
Well, there's many that you could either get me being totally glamorous, having my hair up, because I love me a ballad. I love me a ballad. One that like really, I always like to do a ballad that everybody can like identify with, and that it touches you, and and just like stand in that one spot and just like have all eyes on you and the light on you and just have them take in every word that you lip sync and know your words to. And then also I love to do me a good dance number and no death drops here. I used to do a
Oh,
couple
come
of
on,
high kicks here.
girl. You can do a death drop. Just try it. Try it once and let me watch and film it.
I may not come back up. I don't think I can. I'm almost 50 now, so
You're
it's
what?
not what I do.
You're what? You're what? What?
Yeah.
You're how old?
October 16th, I will be 50 years old, or 50 years
How do
now.
you look so young? Are you bathing in the blood of the innocent? Oh, ooh, she's keeping her secrets over there. I love it. Now, Caress, what kind of energy do you like to bring to this stage, and how do you like the audience to translate that? Do you like to be more high energy? Do you like to be goofy? Or do you just like to feel your sexy oats?
I think that I do have high energy. Never been a comedy queen. I've never really done anything funny. Um, and it's not like I don't want to. It's just that I think that I just haven't found that perfect song for that. But I would say, if Caress was like, what do I say? To set up a scene with Caress would be like a red light on, and like the smoke machine like slowly blowing in smoke, and just like you'll smell my scent first, and then you see me like walking very sexy and draw your attention from
Okay, well, I wondered what that smell was.
again.
Well, I love it. I love that you're painting a full fantasy for us because that's what drag's about. It's giving the full
it
realness.
is. It truly is. It truly
Now,
is. It's like I was gonna
go ahead.
say where it is. It's like the best thing that you can do is to always create a world that you know how to hold on to and hold everyone's attention, because not everybody does the same thing. Because like you said, there's comedy queens. There's like people straight energy out the gate, drop, death drop, death drop, death drop. Do your thing. Sling that ponytail. Do what you need to do. Slow and sexy. A lap dance or two like me. I love Give Me a Lap Dance. A lap dance is always fun. My favorite, that only people who know about Neighbors, one of the gay bars from the past here in town. My favorite lap dance I ever did was a lap dance with two guys at the same time facing each other. They were twin brothers, but they were fraternal. They didn't look alike. And I did a lap dance, and I bounced on both chairs back and forth. It was good. But yeah, I mean, I love a good sexy number. That's kind of like my niche.
Okay, I love that. I mean, I like feeling sexy on stage. I kind of look like a weird, sexy clown, but I love that because, again, that's where our moment, when we're on stage, we're giving our performance, it's our moment to feel how we want to feel. And I think I'm a lot like you at times where I want to go out there and I just want to shake my ass and I want everyone to stare at it.
Yeah, definitely. You patented for it. Might as well.
Oh, absolutely. Now, Caress, what kind of music do you tend to be attracted to when you're picking your performances?
Well, I've always been known to turn to my music a little late, because I just feel like sometimes you don't feel your music until that day.
Mhm.
And then when I started started producing my own shows like Bingo and Brunch and all this stuff, and Drag Takeover that we used to do at the Drake, I realized that you can't be that bitch to turn in your music late if you're in charge of everyone's music. But
No, bad queen, bad.
hey, that's just who I am. I can admit it. I can own it. But realistically, I'm just kind of a '90s R&B hip hop queen into the 2000s. I really love a good bass groove, and a good female rap artist. I mean, me, I'd say '90s to 2000s. That's like my niche. I love a good '80s song, obviously. There's some really, really good classics. All of a sudden, getting chorus all of a sudden. But
And,
yeah, that's my niche. It's like '90s to 2000s.
and who would you say is one of your like favorite icons to perform?
Oh, there's too many. There's always Whitney Houston, Janet Jackson, Beyonce, Tina Turner, um, Lil Kim. I just said that. Nicki Minaj is okay. For all you haters, I'm not being a hater. I'm just saying she's okay. I like some of her stuff. um, City Girls because of my boyfriend. And yeah, I love a good strong female rap artist. Megan Thee Stallion is like fucking amazing. So I can't wait till we can do this again in a club because there's so many ideas and songs I want to do.
Oh yeah, girl, I am ready to get back out there and perform for people as much as I love interviewing all you beautiful queens out there and performers. I really need to get out and perform again because it's like I'm jonesing to entertain people and I miss that part of it. I really do.
Yeah, it's hard. Pardon me. It's hard because it's like for us, I only can equate it as it's like a drug that's legal and and it's good for you. I mean, the energy exchange that we get from working with people and working in bars and from each other, the camaraderie that we have with each other as entertainers, it's like we may be busy all week long doing our everyday jobs, and we finally get to hit that weekend night where we all get to hang out together and we get to get out there, we get out there and rock it and enjoy our time out there. And it's just like I know you probably feel the exact same way, but it is like a drug. That energy that you get from people, you get to give that release. That from the whole hardworking week or family stress or relationships, ups and downs or whatever we go through. That energy is needed for us to like thrive and just like live somewhat of a happy balance the way I see it. And I do
I
miss it.
totally,
I miss.
I totally agree though, because I mean, I'm also a very insecure person outside of drag. So when I'm able to put on the drag and go out there and kind of break my normal and go and be in front of hundreds of people and entertain them, it helps me. It helps my mental health. It makes me feel good about myself. And then, like you said, I get to hang out with all my sisters and all my friends, people who do exactly what I do. And it's I kind of really do miss that because it's funny because you think of, oh, well, they're just people I perform with, but honestly, you have such a deeper connection with half of them. And it's things like this, like quarantine and Corona taking over, not being able to do shows with them, makes you think how much you actually miss these bitches that you perform with and hang out with. Because I miss all my sisters, even you girls, like the Glamazons and you, Karress. I mean, I miss just kikiing downstairs and talking about all the hot boys.
Yeah, it's funny because no, it's not that I don't miss performing, but yeah, I do miss the aspect. But some of most fun moments are literally downstairs, like in the basement at Cowfish. For those people that don't know, that's where we go to go change and stuff. It's just like there's always something. Somebody says something crazy, or you're telling a story about your week, or something a costume mishap might happen downstairs, and it just people don't understand, that it's just more obviously it's more than just what they get to see on stage. It's us, like you said, being sisters, and and realistically being part of a family. Some of us get along, some of us don't, but for the most part, we do have each other's backs because if anything went down, I'm pretty sure we'd be all ready to go together and take care of shit. So I I do miss seeing my sisters too, and seeing Daphne and Diva and Nicole. I didn't say that with an attitude for a reason. I just said because I always call her Nikki still, and I'm trying to get used to calling her Nicole in the quarantine, so that way I don't make a mistake when I see her.
Well, she's a woman now, so she's all grown up and she wants to be called Nicole Girl.
I know she's a storm now too.
I know. She's coming up in the world. I love that. Um, Now, let's get back to you, beautiful. And I am curious, what do you think makes your performances unique from other queens?
I would say that it's like it's so hard to put into words. I just think that I'm just genuine and I try to do what I like to do and I don't try to be like anyone else. I mean, there's nothing wrong with looking up to other queens for inspiration, but I think that what makes me me is that I do what I want to do. You know, I perform the songs that I think that are perfect for me. Um, I just think that I just bring I bring a certain sexy that no one else brings to this town or wherever I go, and I think that's genuine. And I'm not saying anybody else can't be sexy, but I just think I my type of entertaining is my type, and I think the reason why it's like so much is because I'm just me, and I don't have to be an impersonation of someone else. And hey, if you can do a death drop and all that, that's cool. That's just not me, you know. I'd rather like all of a sudden like do a couple of spins and land on my knees in front of a dude and then see what he looks like as I'm looking up at him. So that's just what I do.
Oh my God, I love that. You such a tease. Well, girl, I think you are a fierce performer. Um, Another thing that I think you do very fiercely is you have an amazing drag style. So tell us a little bit about your drag style and what kind of looks we can expect from Caress and Slaughter.
My drag style is like I'm a thrifty bitch, but not a cheap bitch. Um, because I always feel like when they say that when some queens say, "Well, I don't have a lot of money," blah blah blah. It's all about shopping. You can always find something. You don't always. I mean, if you truly do like costuming of any sort, you will find things anywhere. And I know you know this for a fact too.
Yep.
So, um, I love you could see me finding something from the past, from like the late '90s, and you kind of judge it up. Or I love me some Fashion Nova. We all know this. I love a good Amazon bodysuit. I don't get around. I will put jewelry on and whatnot, but the stoning thing's never really been my thing. And maybe it will be. Maybe I should take it up now that we're all quarantined. Stone some outfits, but a good sequin bodysuit or like a high-waisted pair of shorts and a nice slouchy sweater and long water wave like a long water wave lace front and some knee-high boots, and pretty much that's Caress right there. I think if Caress was symbolized, it would be like high-waisted shorts, a good bodysuit or an oversized sweater and a lace front that's long down to her ass. And like, yeah, that's pretty much Caress.
All right. And how would you describe your aesthetic then? Would you like say you're more kind of bougie? Would you say that you're a little more of that kind of, I don't know, sexy stripper girl? How would you describe that?
I'm laughing because my boyfriend laughing because you said bougie because he calls me bougie. um,
Sorry, girl.
I don't think I'm bougie in sense of drag. I don't think I'm banji either, but some people might say that. I don't know. I just look like I'm just that girl that you want to go to the club with and have fun and go shake your butt on the dance floor. You think that's right, babe? He's like, yeah, pretty much.
Oh, I love that. Now, what kind of process goes into picking one of your drag costumes, especially when you're planning for a performance?
um, I usually think about the song and usually a lot of my numbers based by I'm always dancing. So four-way stretch is always key. A beautiful bold print. I have this uh, high-waisted ruffled skirt that goes to the floor outfit from Fashion Nova I got, and it's like off the shoulder and poofy sleeves, and I love that so much because of movement and whatnot. I just like things that catch people's eyes when I'm on stage or whatever. Because if I'm shaking my ass, you might as well have a pretty print to look
Yes. I love that. Now, what would you say is one of your all-time favorite costumes?
at. I'm thinking past and present or present.
Like active that are still sitting in your closet.
Uh, the one I just described, the like green and yellow and blue, like off the shoulder poofies. That's cute. Oh God, that's a hard question. Cause I like a good bodysuit too. Oh, I know which one it is. What I love is I wear this black mesh bodysuit, and then I have these like chap ruffled also mesh pants that go all the way down to the ground, and I pair them together with a nice little belt in the middle, and it has like a hoop on it, and I wear big hoops with it. So it's just like this kind of put together mesh bodysuit, and I love it because the ruffles on the side of the pants, and it gives really good movement when you're on stage. So that's pretty much probably one of my favorites.
Okay, I love that. Now, Chris, when you first started drag, as we mentioned, it was back in the 90s, and it was before drag was actually considered mainstream. In fact, back then, drag might have been considered a little taboo. So tell us a little bit, what was it like starting drag back in the 90s, and kind of how was drag treated back then?
Well, first off, let me get some water. I literally apparently need to drink something. Um, in the 90s, well, first, makeup wise, it was for people of color, it was not that great here in good old Eugene. It was like a lot of chalky looks and whatnot. And then we would have to use Dermablend was like the only thing that was really doable because they had so many colors because it was used for like covering up tattoos or covering up scarring and stuff like that.
That's
So
what I
Dermablend
thought.
was the first things I used. So you use Dermablend?
Yep.
Girl. And so that was one thing. Um, Makeup was a challenge somewhat, but it got better. And then, it was very interesting being one of the two only queens of color in town. But I feel like it was kind of like, I don't even want to say it like that, but I think there's a certain type of part of the crowd that actually like to see the woman of color there. So that was a thing. It was, I would say it was dangerous probably to do drag in the 90s still. I mean, but me just being raised by my mother, who was a really strong soul, um, I've always been bold and I've never backed down to things. So I would walk places when people say you shouldn't walk places. And, back then there were a lot of things that went down that shouldn't have happened. And, and we weren't safe and people got drunk, and, got jumped every now and then to be on the real about it. But it was different. It was very different. But even then, we still had a close knit group of queens that we hung out and we looked after each other and made sure nothing would happen to us. But it was a little bit more dangerous, but it was exciting because it was the 90s. It was amazing, and it I wouldn't change it for the world for starting it then. It was good. It was good. I mean, we had more bars then than we do now. But it's come a long way. It's come a long way.
Now, karress, was back then when you were doing drag, and was it something you would talk about freely like we do now, or was it something you would more keep to yourself until you got to the bar?
Um, no, we talked about it. It was like, I mean, because I hung out with gay people. So I had straight friends too, but all my straight friends were fine with it too. Um, but no, it wasn't like we ran to the bar, I ran downstairs or anything like that. I mean, some arrived in drag, some didn't, some of us got ready at the bar, some didn't. Um, but at the same time, you were very wary of what was going on, and you did want to keep yourself safe. And I mean, I have a friend, Todd. Um, his drag name was Cinnamon Snap. He like was it him? It was either him. I think it was him where his family destroyed some of his things because they found out about him doing drag.
Wow.
And when I told you about that cocktail or like that cocktail party, um, the 7 or 8 outfits that I changed in that night, it was all the stuff that he had stored at my best friend's Heather's house in the hall closet. So when I decided to do drag, I used all of his clothes for the cocktail party. I don't know if I ever told him, but but Yeah, like family members. I remember family members finding out and burning people's stuff in barrels out back because finding out about them doing drag. I was lucky. My family accepted it, and it was funny because they didn't really believe it. That's a whole other story. But yeah, it was good time, good times because we were all close knit and we took care of each other. But there were those dark days where things like that would happen, where people like would get jumped, or family would find out about their stuff, kick them out, or like I said, burn their things and to get rid of them. So it was not as accepted as it is now. A lot of kids don't understand there is a struggle always, for people who are not considered part of main society, you know, but the kids, I just say this, with the biggest heart that, just remember you're still able to do a lot more than some of us were able to do in the past.
It's true. It's absolutely true. In fact, right now with RuPaul's Drag Race and how mainstream things are, kids really have an advantage, especially when it comes to drag and the freedom that they're allowed to present themselves in drag. Now, Karress, were you ever surprised to see how mainstream that drag has actually gotten to at this point?
Yeah, I I remember when I first when I first saw the first season of RuPaul Drag Race with that infamous filter, girl.
Right?
Uh,
Girl, Vaseline.
Seriously, for real, and shot through gauze. Um, but it just, I thought, okay, this is really cool because you got to see yourself. Like even me being a man of color, it there was a time where there were a lot of black people on TV, and that became a thing. And then now, at one point, I said, I would say that gay is the new black because it went from having that best friend or person in the cast that was a person of color or a black person, and then now it's like then it went to like there's a gay person, and then now they're hitting all the genders and whatnot, and in main society to be represented. And it was very interesting to see Drag Race first, and I was like, okay, I don't understand why they look like this. Why is this like high key lighting and this horrible filter? But here we are, like 12 seasons later almost, and you're just like, who would have known that RuPaul, supermodel of the world, would end up being this like icon and this like just what do you call it? Just this like being that has like all this money and everything and has influenced drag culture in such a way that it's just global. It's pretty fucking amazing. It's really good. It's really, really
I mean, it's true, and it's good times to be a drag queen, especially because there are so many platforms to encompass so many different styles of drag, from the drag race for the high glamour fashion queens to Dragula for the drag monsters and the more edgy
good.
queens, even Camp Wanakiki for queens like me that just like to be silly and have fun. Now,
Mhm.
Caress, tell me a little bit, how do you think with all of this happening and all these different platforms at this point, how has your drag evolved throughout the years?
Ooh. You know what cracks me up about that? I love when people tell me all the time, they're like, oh, you're so pretty. And you've always been so pretty. You know, I'm so glad that Facebook is, if it was like 10 years older than it is now, with memories, I would be deleting because when it comes to makeup, like I said, oh, there was not that much makeup for us, and I see pictures, and all you see is lipstick. Oh, and oh, the lashes. You would think even Real Housewives of random cities never wore the little tiny size lashes I used to wear back. I mean, even real women wear lashes. You see a real, I don't want to say the phrase real woman, but a woman now, any walk of life, is wearing this type of lash on their eyes because they don't care because makeup is a thing, regardless of being drag, makeup is a booming. part of business and a money maker. I mean, everyone, all genders wear makeup now and are in campaigns. And who'd have thought that? You know, in 2020, it is a it's I just it's so funny because, like I said, I'll be 50, and I think this little black boy who was born in 1970 is like doing drag in 2020, and it's a thing, you know, for the most part that it's okay. It's an okay thing to see, but yeah, oh God, makeup for me in the past, there are some horrible, horrible pictures out there, and I guess I'm just lucky that I have friends who don't want to expose me because it's
Well, with
really
that
bad.
said, don't worry. We're going to have Daphne Storm on later this month. So maybe we can get her to show us some old pictures.
I didn't. You know what's so funny about that? I did not even think about that because she's like been doing drag for like 50 years. I mean,
She gets so mad. I call her the Darcel of Eugene, and she's like, I'm not that old. I'm like, well, girl, you're not that old, but you're a legend.
but I mean, it seriously. I mean, it kind of is true. It is really kind of true. I mean, because she's been doing drag longer than all of us, and she is, like I said earlier, everybody finds their niche in doing this. And for her to be 3 decades plus later of doing drag, she's obviously doing something right because people still love her. And I love her for her doing what she does. And I have one request. Daphne, when you get on here, can you please let someone paint you as Cher for one time? One time, one night only. We'll do a fundraiser for her, girl. And it'll be a night of shares and you'll do all the share.
Okay, girl, get it. I love that. Now,
She loves her some share. Ooh, I hope I'm not shaking too much.
oh, you're fine. I've had like 6 energy drinks, and I'm just like Speedy Gonzalez over here.
I'm talking about
So,
the camera. I know it's like moving. It looks like it's moving, but it's I don't know what's like camera wise. I just hope that the it's not gonna give people vertigo because I feel it moving. But anyway,
you're good,
uh,
beautiful. Now, when you first started, as you mentioned earlier, you actually started within the Eugene court scene, which is the ISCEE, and you have, in fact, held many titles throughout the years. So tell us a little more about your experience with the court system and maybe what titles you may have had.
well, I have gone. Pardon me. Sorry, I hit up my dad, my boyfriend, dad. I started off, you know, going up the ladder like most, and but the one difference between me, I just kind of did my running for different titles when I wanted to. Get it, girl. Um, um, and so I just kind of like when I first started doing drag in the first year and a half to 2 years, I started doing Crisco Disco with my friend Victoria Venom. I was going volunteering time at court shows. I ran for debutante, was my first title. Um, I will always remember this because when I ran for it, when I stepped down, there was a lot of shit that went down back then. I went through a lot of stuff with the court system. The first title I had, my mom was hospitalized 4 times during my reign. So
Oh
every time she was
no.
hospitalized, yeah. So every time um, she was in hospital, I would go up to Tacoma because my hometown is Tacoma, Washington, and I would go and see her in the hospital. And so it started messing with my requirements to be met. But I did all my requirements. But you know, there's always drama, there's always politics, you know, whatnot, when it comes to doing shows and just being a part of any organization. And that doesn't make or take away from what we do, but just like any organization or whatnot, you have different personalities, strong ones, weak ones. If you, when you say weak, but you know, ones that are very, very expressive, and some who are more subdued is a better way to put it. And you know, people bump heads, and so I did bump heads at that time, and I was, you know, I made it through my year, and after seeing my mom 4 times, and she came down for my step down, so that was cool. And I will always remember my debutante year because when my step down, your last walk song, me and my best friend Pamela and my best friend Heather, we went to Sears of all places, and we found different white pleather suits. And my friend Heather, because she's very healthy, and she got the double-breasted one. My friend Pamela had the tiny jacket with little side pockets, and I had like my white jacket was more of a kind of a female leather jacket. And we did "You Don't Own Me" from First Lives Club as my step down song because I was kind of sending a message, and that's how I stepped down. So I'll never forget that. And again, eventually I ran for Miss Gay Eugene, and then I was princess at one point. I was actually princess twice, but that's a whole other story that caused an uproar. And then eventually I was Empress 36. So yeah, I've had all the titles here, here in Eugene.
I love that. And, I think that shows that you're definitely a queen of the community that definitely likes to not just perform and have fun, but also take care of the very community that she lives in. Now, tell me a little bit about your years Empress and what that was like for you.
Okay, me being Empress, I it was it happened over so much time that when I did finally run for Empress, and when I stepped up, it was funny because when I got crowned and I turned around, it was funny because people had seen me run for all these different titles over the years, and they were just waiting for me to be Empress, waiting for me to be Empress, and I didn't want to do it until I was ready. And when I did it, it was funny. It literally sounded like everybody at the same time said, as they were clapping, "It's about damn time," because I had waited so long. And it was a good year. There's one thing about the court system and the international court system, and I've had some good times and some bad times. I'm not gonna lie with the Imperial Sovereign Court of the Emerald Empire, but I wouldn't take it back for anything in the world. I got to do things I never thought I would do in life. I traveled. I went to different cities and represented Eugene, Oregon. And it's funny because a lot of people keep, you know, they keep these things to heart because you can't really say to someone what their experience is going to be like being Empress because you get out what you put into it. And I know, and that's part of your personality and a part about your work ethic, about your drive, because we all want to try to make the most money for your year. We all want to let people know that Eugene's a place on the map that you can come to and enjoy yourself. And the one thing about that too is like it's funny because a lot of people don't really see Eugene as Eugene. An aspect to me being coming back from being from Tacoma, it's like every time I would say when I would come and visit, they'd be like, "Oh, how's Portland?" I'm like, "I live in Eugene." "Oh, isn't that right by Portland?" I'm like, "No, that's an hour south of Portland." Like it's funny how excuse me, 2 hours south of Portland, and it's funny because they never really think of Eugene as a town, like it's funny. And so I just love the fact that I got to represent this little, I always call Eugene not a city, I call it a big town because it doesn't really seem city-like to me, and so I loved, my year of representing here and letting people know that, we have some really cool queens here and we do our best just like any bigger city, as big as Portland or big as Seattle or wherever, it's just like I want people to know that we work just as hard as any other place because we're part of the same system and we have that one goal is to raise money and supply to people things that they need that they can't get a hold of or money they can't come across. So I will never forget doing that.
No, and absolutely. And like you said, the court can sometimes be a struggle. That we all have great intentions and we all love running for the titles, but it can be sometimes a roller coaster, especially while you're reigning, because real life sometimes happens and that can get in the way of our plans that we have set as a title holder. But I do like what you're able to do with those platforms. And like you said, the travel you get to do and the people you get to meet, because I think being part of the court system, holding the titles that I did, including Empress, helped me not just network who I was, but it also helped me grow a lot. Like it helped me learn, especially the biggest thing I learned as Empress, when to keep your fucking mouth shut. It's something I had to learn, and I learned it very well as Empress, because you have to sometimes just sit there and smile, even when people are being rude to you.
Yeah. I went through some of the same things too, like I won't lie. And just being this, having the spirit of my mother, I when I feel like some things need to be spoken on, I always feel like I have to say something. And that's just who I am. And in that situation, sometimes you have to put yourself in check and be like, hey, this it's just always about the time and place to do it. And because we're human, we're gonna react. That's what we do.
Right.
And sometimes it's an emotional reaction. And sometimes you get caught up where you may not say the most eloquent things at the time in the heat of the moment. The true sign of a queen on any level, it's just like, if you know you're wrong or you did wrong, you're grown enough to come back and say, I was wrong, and I may have stepped on your toes, and I may have said something that I didn't mean, or I didn't mean to come at you this way. It's all about maturity, and that's for all ages. Doesn't matter how young or how old you are, because we're all infallible. We all do things, and we all make mistakes and say things that we shouldn't say. But you know what? If you own up to that, if you own up to it, I'm gonna have the utmost respect.
Absolutely. I mean, it's definitely a sign of a true queen to be able to show humanity and show that there's more behind all the glamour than just trying to be perfect all the time and be likable. We actually want to see that vulnerability. We want to know that there's a human underneath it all, because sometimes you can look as beautiful and perfect as much as you want, but then your insides are just bitchy and wicked and evil, and sometimes it makes you very hard to like. And I'm not saying that all these queens around here are evil or anything, because most of them are pretty fantastic people. But once in a while, you meet that one bitch who's like, oh God, why don't you stay on that corner of the room?
Yeah, you don't want to feed off that energy, because it's just and it's yeah, there's always that one. Um, but I get that. I've been on both sides, but I don't think I've ever been malicious about it. But I can tell you honestly, I've been a handful. Sometimes I continue to be a handful, depending on who you talk to. But you know, it's just you just gotta you have to find a good balance. And there's nothing that's wrong with saying, hey, sometimes things get the best to you, but best of you, but you just gotta own up to it, not let it take hold of you too hard.
No, absolutely. Now, Chris, you've done so much for your community and you've held so many titles. What does it mean to you to be able to support your community through the power of drag?
Like I said earlier, giving them an escape to, like, helping raise money, obviously that's a given. But just for, like, if you've had a long day or a long week, or you're just going through something and you just want to get away, it's always good to be able to, like, have somebody come and enjoy what you're doing and enjoy the song you're doing, and just to cut loose and just have a good time and shake the cares away. Eventually, you got to deal with them, obviously. But you know what? Sometimes you just need that escape, and everybody deserves it, And it doesn't matter, you know, gay, straight, or whatever, As long as you're respectful, just come and have a good time, and just, like, just enjoy yourself. Always enjoy
Hmm.
yourself.
Well said, girl. I love that. Now, speaking of having a good time, back when you were coming up in the drag scene, you were quite involved with quite a few shows. You mentioned Crisco Disco, but another two that you've been quite involved with from the very beginning was Shablam and Glam. So tell me a little bit about those two shows.
Okay, it's shebang.
Oh, sh- my sorry, shebang.
Okay. Shablam, that would pardon me, my throat. Anyway, Shablam would actually be a really good. You better copyright that shit. Shablam sounds like a really good. I don't know why anybody has not named the show that. Um, it was shebang. It was at Neighbors, and our original cast was Francesca May Slaughter, my drag sister who doesn't do drag anymore, Diva Simone Slaughter, um, Daphne Storm. She didn't have. I don't think Bertha was a middle name at that point. There was Vanity Venom. Um, every now and then, I think Victoria Venom showed up, depending on if there was a large pitcher of beer for her to have. She would always walk around with a small pitcher of beer, actually with a straw in it. Hilarious. But yeah, we did a show on Friday nights. It was really cool. We got ready in the basement there too. It was really cool because I remember the bartender always knew all of our drinks. So when we would come filing in at different times, by the time we walked in, said hello in one door, and got to the end of the bar to go around the edge. And mind you, imagine a McDonald's made into a gay bar. That's what Neighbors was. And so the counter where we would go get our drinks is where the counter would be for them to order. And so by the time we'd say hi to everybody and get to the other side of the bar, the bartender would have our drink of choice at the end of the bar. And we go downstairs and drink and get ready. And we come up and trade off another drink, go outside and smoke. Um, and it was this Friday night show. I did a lot of Janet Jackson back in the day. Nasty was my signature song. I did Aaliyah, or as Dee will call her that dead vampire.
Oh, you can't say that, Diva. She
I,
died in a plane crash, you evil
you
bitch.
know, she would always remind me and say, she's dead, right? But that's Diva. But I love Aaliyah, beautiful. Gone way too soon, by the way. But
Yes, she did. I'll always
and
remember her forever as in Queen of the Damned, her last appearance.
so good, so beautiful. My dream was to have that costume so much. Um, but yeah, it was. We did. Diva did her thing. I did my thing. We always had our own little niche, and that always makes it good. Like for a good show cast, like everybody who does their own thing, and everybody see, and they bring their friends to see their friend, and they enjoy the rest of the show, and it was fun. And God, I don't remember how many years we did that show. I think did we do it like 7 years? It was a long time, and then eventually we did Glam at John Henry's, formerly known John Henry's, now it's called the Drake, and Glam kind of bounced. We did it at Lucky's for a while, but we kind of died off. We didn't do it there because I love Lucky's, but the stage setup is a lot different. It's kind of hard to work with. Um, and then, but Glam was originally at John Henry's, and I called it our own little Studio 54 of Eugene. And it
Okay,
was just like
why?
because there was a lot of things that went on. There was like the stadium seating that where if you're at Drake across from the bar, there's like those booths, but there used to be like stadium seating that went up, and there would be various activities. I'm not gonna be ashamed of it, but there's there's probably sometimes drug use. There was just there was people up there canoodling. There was a lot of stuff that went on there, and it was cool. We do our show, and then the bar would close. They'd close the front doors, and the ashtrays would come out on top of the bar, and people could smoke inside. And we just sit there and drink to 3, 4 in the morning, and then go home. Yeah, and it was so much fun. It's like I don't. I wish the kids now knew about that because it was so much fun. You would have had it. You would have had a blast. I
See, and
mean,
I get
because
jealous hearing about some of these after parties that's happened back in the day because, again, we don't really do that this day and age. Because a lot of the time the shows go till 2, 3 in the morning, and then by the time
mhm.
we're done, we're just like, I'm ready to go home and eat a burrito and take my face off. But the idea of actually doing like an after party, hanging out with the girls, let the bar still be active and open, and I like that you're smoking inside and just chit chatting. I mean, I think that would be a blast because you get to see a different side of your sisters than what you would see when people are in the room.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, because some of us would stay in drag, but for the most part, we just started getting out of drag. So you could get out of drag and you could just relax and just get tossed. I mean, for real, we would drink and you know, it's it's I wouldn't take it back for anything. It is part of my history and I do miss it a lot. It's God, it's just crazy thinking about it because I've seen so many bars like, you know, close. It's just weird.
It is, and Eugene's definitely gone through its revamp where we've had bars open up, bars closed down. Thankfully, we do have a queer space at this point, but I wish we had more queer spaces or, different styles of spaces for us to go out and perform. But, right now with COVID happening, it's like everything is really up in the air. And it's once things open up, and it's probably going to be a while before we start doing drag shows and stuff again, isn't it?
Probably. I mean, it's like me, Daphne, and Diva. We have our little chat on Messenger, and we talk about stuff. And we were talking about phase one and phase two, and then Diva was like, "See you guys next year," because we're just like, "What's gonna happen?" And I know Cowfish is open, but I still think we're a little off from it. And believe me, I miss it. I mean, we talked about this earlier. I miss it a lot, but I still think we got a little bit of time to go. And it's
Well,
sad because I have all the energy to give,
Well, I have an
all of it.
idea for you, girl. I say let's take a leaf out of Portland's book and let's do a drag deliver here in Eugene and get some of us more talented queens like you, me, maybe Daphne, and do scheduled shows and go to people's parking lots and perform for them. I mean, it's working in Portland. Why not here in Eugene?
Well, you never know. You never know. I mean, I think it's going to get to a point where some of us are going to probably get tired of just not being able to use our craft because, like I said, it's a release for us and it's a stress reliever. It's just like, it's our creative outlet. It's our art of what we do. There are different artists in the world and drag artists are definitely one. Because I mean, you grow up and you always think you want to become famous,
I,
and you want the people to know your name, and this is my way, I think, and just like you, we've made a name for ourselves, and people know us, and they know us for what we do, and I'm getting antsy. I am getting antsy like crazy, and I need to do something so bad.
Well, girl, we'll chit chat after the interview with some ideas because I mean, I feel you. I love doing the interviews. I love talking and meeting the girls, but there's also that outlet of interacting with people, getting out there and being seen that again, it's like that drug that you're just craving so bad. So I get you,
Mhm.
girl. We'll talk. Now, speaking of two of your best sisters that you have been basically performing with forever, from Shebang to Glam to now the amazing Glamazons, before we talk about Glamazons, let's talk about your relationship with these two legendary bitches. So, and when I say bitches, I mean like what you would call your grandma in affection. And of course, I'm talking about Diva Simone Slaughter and Daphne Storm. Tell me a little bit about your relationship with those two girls.
We we are, yeah, we're the old bitches, but I'm always the baby, which is awesome. We've done shows now for like 20 years, and it's like we've always done had groups, and we have always been the core, and and we eventually, it moves and shifts, and we eventually invite other people in. It's not even the fact of inviting them in, it's just like adding to the family. And I wouldn't take them back for anything in the world. You know, like with all your sisters, there's always been ups and downs, and it's it literally, like you said, sisterhood is the only way to describe it. And they're good people, and it's it's funny. I don't know why I'm kind of getting emotional because I'm just thinking about how long we've known each other.
I mean, I just saw on Facebook a picture of all three of you when you were super young. I mean, when Bill looked like me, skinny and young and pretty.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like right now it's just like a really emotional time just in general. I guess that's why I'm kind of like reacting. Um,
Feel it, baby.
they are my sisters. They see me through a lot. They've seen a lot go on in my life, and they've always told me, like, real life comes first, and I respect that because in some sense, some places I've experienced where people have not had that as something for them, and they they've been there for me. Relationship after relationship, we've been for each other like that, and we've always had each other's backs, and we've had getaways and several drag shows that we've done. Like one of our ones that we do yearly with Poison Waters from Portland, we go over to Bend every year, and it's like one of my favorite getaways with them because I swear we have a story for every year we go there from I won't tell Anthony's story, but there's a really infamous story about him because I really can't. But I don't know if he'd appreciate it. But there's like, I mean, even in a blizzard, the snow, like being scared going across the path on ice. We've been through a lot of shit, and it and I would not take back experiencing it with them for anything in the world. They're my sisters through thick and thin.
I love that so much. And anyone from even an outside perspective can see the tightness between you three. And it is truly beautiful because
Why I'm crying?
it's okay to feel emotions, girl. This isn't baseball. You're allowed to cry here. Sorry, a League of Their Own joke. But no, I love the true connection that you three have. And it is something that I think is important to find people who get who you are and who you feel comfortable with. And not just in life, but also within this drag scene. Because, when we're all competing, we're all trying our best to be seen, it sometimes can get very, again, competitive. So to find that connection with someone, find that sisterhood, that's always important. And I think it's truly beautiful that you have that with those two. And speaking of that sisterhood, you've done shebang and you've done glam, but that has now evolved into what we know here in Eugene as a legendary show that we like to call the Glam. Tell me a little bit about being part of that show and what you like most about it.
That show is amazing because when we hadn't had a gay bar in quite some time, a man named Colin and John O'Malley, they had a place called the Wayward Lamb, and that's where Spectrum is now. And John O'Malley was the event coordinator, and he decided he wanted to do a drag show weekly, and he came across us, and we talked about it, and Diva just said, call it Glamazon, and it started, and then like any good groups, it evolved from the original cast was myself, Diva Simone Slaughter, Daphne Storm, Ria Della Vera, Angelica DeVille, and wait, and Topaz Crawford. And I think that's originals. Yeah. And then eventually it just morphed and changed because, some people move away and aspire to be, to go somewhere bigger. And and then some people, and then you just kind of shift and change. And then eventually it became Monique LaFay, who's my best friend who lives in Austin. And that's another queen I would take back for the world otherwise, because she's seen me through a lot of shit too. And I love her dearly. And it was again where we just came together, us the core, me, Diva, and Daphne, and then other people, and we all came together and did the same thing, brought our own little thing to do in drag there, and our own style, and it's always good to have a good cast that you just meld with, and you're able to do what you do, and with an occasional song that you might overlap with, but it it was a good thing. It was something that we needed at the time because we didn't have a gay space, in a long time, and it kind of sparked up the community again. And eventually, Wayward Lamb closed, and we eventually went to Cowfish to be Glamazons, and
Okay.
then Spectrum opened, and then now we're at Spectrum as Glamazons on hiatus, obviously because of COVID. Um, but we're still a group that gets together now and still does shows, but now we just have it's me, Daphne Diva, and now we have Nicole Serene in the group. And so we have occasional guests like yourself and Scarlet Trick, and we're still like that eclectic group of people, and we just come to entertain you. And I'm glad that I'm like, you know, again with another group of amazing ladies.
I
And
love
here we are.
Well, and you guys have definitely made a name for yourself out here. I mean, anyone who's anyone knows who the Glamazons are. And you guys definitely are not afraid to put on a high quality show. And again, you do bring in special guests. Like, I've probably special guested for the Glamazons probably like 5 or 6 times. And it's probably some of my favorite memories because again, you guys run a very fun but professional show and you stay on a good schedule. So it's very easy just to have a good time while you're there and enjoy the energy, flirt with the boys, have a cocktail. I mean, I love working with the Glamazons, and if you're ever looking for another one, call me. Well,
I'll let you know. That's Diva's thing, but I'll let you know, girl.
I hear you, baby. Now, tell me, what do you think separates the Glamazons from maybe an average drag show that you would just see?
Um, well, we do it at Cowfish, which it's not quote unquote a gay bar. It is a queer friendly bar. We are just there, like, Diva is there to like give you her mantra, attitude check, fuck you, bitch, so you can release all that tension of the work week and whatnot that's going on in life. It's a hate-free zone. You're there to have a good time. You're there to see Daphne do some share. You see the Diva to do some Natalie Cole. You have Nikki Serene doing any pop princess and just tearing that floor up. And you get me, I come out and I'm like, I look like I was someone in the cast from the Players Club. And if you don't know what that is, that's a movie about strippers.
Girl, I love it. Well, again, you guys do a great show, and I think one thing in my opinion that separates you from the average show is something you said recently is you have such different styles. Like, you bring that sexy soul and R&B. Miss Nikki brings that Britney Spears pop princess realness, and Daphne, of course, brings some Cher. And it always keeps your shows interesting, which, again, as someone who does craft of drag, it can sometimes get a little boring to watch other queens perform. But coming to a Glamazon show, I have never gotten fucking bored. I mean, I just have fun. I love watching you bitches own your life, and especially you. I mean, you're so unpredictable on stage. You'll go in there and like start seducing the audience, and I think it's fun. Mm. So Tell me a little bit about what you like most about being a glamazon.
Okay. I love being a glamazon because I get to be me. Um, I get to. I'm an equal opportunist when it comes to being on stage and being sexy. You know, if the participant is willing, it doesn't matter. Any gender. If you're welcoming it, I will like entice you the best way I can, and feed off the energy of the crowd. That's probably my best thing, my most favorite thing too, is just the energy that you get from the crowd and them being happy that they're there to see the show, and being in awe that the moves and stuff that I can do on the little stilts I call heels and whatnot. It's just the energy. That's probably my favorite thing. The sisterhood and the energy are the two favorite things to say that. That's
I
one
love
thing that
that.
are.
Absolutely. And what do you feel? Do you feel like drag has added a certain confidence for you? And maybe not just when you're actually dressed up, but for everyday life also?
I think so. I believe that because, like I tell people, I was a shy kid growing up, and I was kind of quiet. And anybody who knows me now, I'm not quiet. And I've definitely found my voice. And I think that doing drag, it does help unlock your confidence because I see it as when you do drag, you you have the ability to do and sometimes say things that you would never be bold enough to say or do when you're not. And and it becomes part of you. It is part of you. So it eventually just all just encompasses itself, and you just like end up taking qualities that you have as a queen, because if you're bold enough, even in this day and age, we know that it's still taboo in some ways, and
Right.
and it's still kind of a a tricky thing about being able to live your life and be around people and surrounded by people that accept who you are, and you're not, like, I guess, and we're say in danger. And if you're able to gain that boldness to do that, it just kind of trickles over into your own self and who you are, and it just gives you more courage, I guess. So I would say that, yeah, it does definitely boost your character and your strength.
I love that. Now, Caress, what do you think makes Caress Ann Slaughter such a popular queen out here in Eugene, and not just Eugene, but all throughout Oregon?
I would say my drag style and my realness and my bluntness. And I'm very talkative. So, I mean, I like to talk to everybody. So I'm very, very social. So that probably helps a lot.
Okay, I love that. And let's see here, where are we? I have big lashes and small writing. Now, in fact, you are so popular that you have been voted within Eugene Weekly as the best drag queen in Eugene in 2015 and 2019. What was that like for you?
Um, that was that was one of the moments I'll probably remember for the rest of my life too. I remember when I first did the photo shoot for the first one in 2015, and I found out I was going to be the cover, and I couldn't tell anybody. And it's funny because my store won best grocery, a local grocery store. I work at Kiva, and so they wanted me to be in the photo for the Kiva too, and I didn't want to because I felt guilty because I was going to have the cover, so I didn't go to that one. And the first time I did a photo shoot for them, I remember the photographer, and I can't remember his name right now, Trask. He went to U of O to the theater department, and he found some Victorian dresses, and he picked one that he thought would be best for me to wear. And people always think I'm really, really skinny, and I'm like, I'm small, but I'm not as small as some um, Uranus. But uh, he got when he I went to go put on the bustle and everything on, down below, and then he went to put on the top for me, and I looked at it, and it was a size 4. And so at that point, it was kind of weird because when I do photo shoots, I didn't back then. I really didn't know what my aesthetic would be to help me be able to be comfortable in that situation and that type of thing. And it was I needed music. So he's like, let's turn on some music. And he's like, I bought a bottle of whiskey. He's like, would you like some? He goes, maybe it'll help loosen you up. And I was like, okay, sure. So we ended up drinking
Yeah.
whiskey and taking shots. And he tried to lace me up in this. And this is a man. Like, he had no knowledge of how to lace up a corset in the back. He laced it up by my right arm, and he kept tugging on it. And my arm kept going like this, and he's laughing behind me. He's like, "I don't know what I'm doing." I'm like, "I clearly he did." But I was like, obviously, when I looked in the mirror, I was like, I said, "You lace up like shoelaces up the middle," and so he fixed it. And at one point, he tightened it so much, and like on the cover for that photo that I had on the weekly, and it was the theme was Marie Antoinette, and I had the little cupcake in my hand, and because he wanted to come up with like a theme like let them eat cake, so he went to Sweet Life and got this beautiful little cupcake. He gave to me obviously, and that's how the whole look came about. I remember one point I was so cinched so tight in that top, I fell on my back because he had me posing on the floor, and and I fell on my back and I couldn't even move to get up because I was so tight. And it was a
Oh,
really good photo shoot. It was, and then 2019, I never got my photo shoot. So I'm gonna put this out there, Eugene Weekly, if you just want to do a photo shoot, just because it'd be awesome. Um, but I use another photo from my past to when I got 2019. It is very interesting because working at the Cuba, working downtown, the type of clientele that comes there always always reads the weekly.
uh-huh.
And so people will come in, are you the girl that was on the cover for the weekly? I'm like, yeah. And I tell them, yeah. I mean, even men, straight men, didn't matter. And they would tell me how beautiful I was. And I thought it was really awesome because, that's just another way of showing drag. It just reaches out further into a different place that you wouldn't think it would. And, they've always, Eugene Weekly, I will give a shout out to them because they've always been really good at doing their best to post things about our community, things that are going on, and bringing light to situations that, that you may not see sometimes. And Camilla is like an amazing editor. She's pretty awesome. But yeah, it opened a lot of doors for me. A lot of doors.
Okay, I love that. And I think it's such an honor to get voted because that's voted by our community here in Eugene to get you in that position. So, I mean, to get it multiple years in a row, bitch, fucking bravo. And let's hope for 2020 you step the fuck aside so I have a chance. Well,
Oh
girl.
yeah, special shout out, real quick, special shout out to Genitalia for my nails. Aren't they cute?
Oh my God, those are beautiful.
Genitalia, Salem.
Oh, get it, girl.
Mhm.
Well, Miss Thing, you have been part of so many legendary things. One of the most legendary shows you have actually been part of is a fundraiser they do every year. And a little birdie told me you have been with this show almost from the very beginning and have almost been in every show. Now, this show has gone on for 20 years and it has been featured at the Holt Center here in Eugene. And this is a lovely show that we like to call Damsels, Divas, and Dames. This is a fantastic show produced, hosted, and put on by the amazing Daphne Storm. But you've pretty much been with it from the beginning, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. I've only out of the 20 years, I've only missed two. And yeah, it's been very interesting to see it evolve because it was not always at the Holt Center. It wasn't always at the Holt Center. So,
Okay.
um, but when we got it there, it was just me walking in onto that stage for the first time and seeing the seats and seeing that the fact I'm going to be on this stage for people to see, it was like mind blowing. And even still to this day, like we've talked about this before too, where, I still get nervous going on stage. And I always feel like the minute you're not nervous, that's when something's going to go down and it's going to be horrible. But, just seeing there every year going back and knowing that we're going to like pack the house, have people there, raise tons of money for HIV Alliance, to see it evolve to not just being city queens, to being people from pretty much the Pacific Northwest, sometimes in New York, sometimes Texas, people coming together for the same cause, just that sisterhood, just being bigger than people know. And it's always been a blast to be part of every year.
It truly is a legendary show. As you mentioned, they every year are raising money for the HIV Alliance, a organization out here in Eugene, taking care of people who are suffering from HIV, also spreading awareness and providing testing for the community. So I do love that it's such a fundraiser for such an amazing organization. Now, can you tell me, like, what has it meant to you to be able to be part of this show? I mean, is it, especially through a time when it was really key, because this started almost 20 years ago, when it was really important to have that kind of shows to, basically help with funding and stuff. So tell me a little bit what it means to you to be part of that.
Um, well, it originally it was when before it was Damsels, Divas, and Dames. There was a show that Alan Brown did along the same lines, and that pretty much was kind of like the inspiration for this one.
Uh-huh.
And it was the same concept, raising money for a charity or multiple charities possibly at the time. And to be part of it, it's great because we're helping people and we get to do something we enjoy to help people. And it's just like when I think about, like, if you think about the money every year and having it compiled into one lump sum, and think about all the money that we've done to, strap on all those tights, hip pads, cinching, tucking away your business, just to entertain a room full of people who have like paid for a ticket that's going to go to help someone. That is one of the best feelings in the world. And to be asked back every year, it's an honor. It really is truly an honor. And it's a feeling you can't describe. It feels so good,
I
because
bet.
you never know, when you might be that person who needs that help. And, you know, it's just a good thing. And I'm glad that we're able to keep doing it. Except for you this year, obviously. Postponed to next year. And I just want this stuff to wrap up. I think we all do. We're done. We're tired of being inside, but
Absolutely.
doing our best.
No, and I get it, girl. I mean, I'm sad that we had to eventually cancel the event this year, because this would have been my first year actually getting a solo performance and being able to participate, which I was excited to. But
No.
it's still gonna happen, just 2021 in April. So we just have to wait a little longer, and hopefully, again, the shit just wraps up and we can move forward. Now, love, what do you think has made Damsels so popular through all these years?
I think the variety, the different types of queens, the group numbers, past and present. Some are good, some are. I mean, there's always a flop. I'd say personally like that, because at one point my daughters were my backup for me, and then they went on to do their own numbers on the stage, which was awesome. And I mean, and it's an all ages event, and it's like it's family friendly, I guess, to a point. I mean, Mark Mullins and Diva Simone Slaughter hosting. You got you have your adult jokes in there now and then, but it's family fun, and just the variety, because nobody's the same, and you don't know, every year you just don't know what you're gonna get.
No, absolutely. And something you mentioned was being able to participate with your family. And I know that's something that you hold very near and dear to you, not just as a queen, but as a human being, is your family values and your personal family. Now, as you've mentioned before, you're also a dad and you have some lovely daughters, and they've been able to like join you on stage. How has your drag and your family interacted, and how has that dynamic happened?
It all started when they would do backup for me at Pride, and then eventually it was the whole center. And it's well, I have three daughters, so they all, I mean, they've always played in my wigs and my clothing for like years. They did makeup, eventually started doing their own makeup, and they, to this day, like my daughter came over the other night and I gave her some makeup someone had gifted me, and she went into the bathroom randomly and just put on a face because I mean we all love makeup, and it's just like I feel like it made us closer, and I wouldn't take that back for the world either, and they've always supported me. Obviously, me and their mother aren't together anymore. And my oldest daughter, almost 10 years ago, had a daughter. So I'm also grandpa. So
Oh
11
my
days after my,
goodness.
yeah. So after my 11 days after my 50th birthday, my granddaughter turns 10. So there's that. And she's known me, she's seen me in drag from her being like a toddler until now. And she likes what I do, and she's a little performer herself. She does TikToks and dance routines, and so yeah, the entertainment just flows through my family. I mean, my oldest daughter likes to
Good.
sing. All three of my daughters like to dance. So it's a thing. It's just like I feel like it was meant to be for me to be this person because it just brings us closer.
I love that, Caress, and I love that your kids have such a connection to not just you as a queer person, but you as a drag queen also, and want to be part of that. And I think that's truly beautiful. I mean, I'll probably never have kids besides my wiener dogs, but I'd like to see that people who are part of the queer community including their kids, because a lot of times, especially back in the day, it was kind of taboo to bring your kids to Pride or take your kids to a drag show. And these days it's happening left or right. And it's kind of beautiful to see. So I love that your kids support your drag. Now, honey, one other thing that you've recently done, and you've mentioned this a little bit earlier, is you have this sister that you love very much, but she did move away, all the way to Texas. But she did give you an opportunity to come and visit her for a whole week. And of course, I'm talking about Monique LaFay. Tell me about the week that you went out to Texas and actually got to perform out there within the Texas drag scene with her.
So yeah, I went down from a Saturday to a Saturday, and it was a blast. Originally, before I left, she told me, she's like, "Well, I have you booked for um Monday and Tuesday, I think it was, something like that. 2 days out of the week." I ended up doing drag 4 times while I was there, and it was Austin is a city. I've always heard it said as a city that doesn't belong to Texas or doesn't really fit in Texas, but obviously it is Texas. There's so many different walks of life there, and the the queer community is just like big. There's like all just different types, and men like at the club wearing heels, drag queens. I mean, old, young, just like it was like this whole world opened before my eyes. But what was cool about it, I felt like I fit so perfectly in. And then, my community here is my community here, but there, that community, I felt like I was at home. It was the most interesting trip I've ever had, but it was so nice. The people, and like they say, Southern hospitality. I honestly will tell you, I did not come across anybody, me being in drag or out of drag, being in drag or out of drag, where I didn't feel like they welcomed me. everybody was really nice. Whether it may have been a fake hospitality, but it was like everybody was super nice, and it was just so it was refreshing to be there, and I can't wait. But I can't wait to go visit again because it was just mind blowing, and it was the most fun I had had in the longest time.
No, and it definitely sounds like a blast. And in fact, you got to go and visit your very favorite drag sister, Monique LeFay, who's made a very established drag scene out there. But again, a little birdie may have told me that when you did go down there, Monique you may have had a great time with her, but she may have cock blocked you a little bit. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, there was a guy that came in, and we were like, there's like they're on Fourth Street, I think. There's like these bars there. I'm gonna feel bad if it's not Fourth Street, but uh, there's like bars that are right next to each other. And so there's one I can't remember. You go through, and then there's like you go to the back, and there's steps to go down to a sunken bar area. And I remember sitting at a table there, and this guy comes in and he saw me, and he decides to walk over, and he gets a drink, and then he eventually sits at my table and says, "Do you mind if I sit here?" And we're just talking, chit chatting back and forth. And he wanted my number, I know, but I never gave it to him. But all of a sudden, Monique was like, "We're gonna go," and I was like, I mean, because marijuana is illegal there. It's not legal. And so I didn't have my pins on me. I haven't drank for almost 2 years.
Oh my God,
Now
the horror.
at that point, I wasn't drinking. So I was my buzz from my high was leaving her from earlier. And I felt like I got cock blocked because I wanted to find out what this guy was all about. And I wasn't able to because Monique said, "Oh, we're going." And I was like, well, shit. I could have got to know a new friend, but apparently I wasn't going to. Babe, I still love
Oh.
you. I'm sitting on
Well,
it.
she could make it up to you next time you go to Texas and maybe introduce you to some of those big, tall cowboys. Oh, wait, your boyfriend is in the room. Never mind.
I'm like looking. Where is it?
Well, girl, we are actually almost done with this interview. We have a couple more questions. I am just curious, what does drag mean to you?
um, Drag. So funny. Drag means to me. We're like searching for the dab pin my boyfriend gave me, and I can't find it. It's on the bed somewhere. Cause yeah, girl, I'm relaxing in my bed for this interview. I'm relaxing on my bed. Drag, basically, drag means to me. Um, it means to me as a meaning to reach out to people and to enjoy dancing, which I love doing. You know, me entertaining is my way of reaching out to people, and like I said earlier, showing them a good time, me being able to release all that pent up, like anything that could be from the week, just like the energy that I need to release and welcome people into my world of who Caress and Slaughter is, and be able to leave people thinking, I saw that bitch tonight. She was amazing. And um, it just means a lot to me to be able to help raise money for charity and to be able to offer what I offer. I know it sounds kind of repetitive, but do what I love to do and give people an escape. It's just like that's what it's all about, because you want to keep your name out there and know have people know what you have to offer to to add to your longevity. Because I mean, I honestly would not have thought that I would be doing this almost 26 years later, you know? And I'm glad that people still know who I am and know and enjoy what I have to offer.
Well, and that's because you're a fierce bitch that puts on quite a show and is really likable. So I love it. Now, what do you think we should ultimately know about Caress and Slaughter that we may not know?
Ooh. Um, I actually have a heart.
Oh,
um,
I didn't know.
um, I'm basically I'm that ride or die person, ride or die bitch, and I always have people's back, and I'm a protector, I really am, and I don't like anybody being wronged. I don't like anybody being treated any way they shouldn't be treated, and as long even though I have this pretty face, I will commence to an ass whooping without even taking off my shoes. I mean that's just who I am. You know, I'm like always there, and it's funny because at one point people told me that I was like they saw me as unapproachable, and I was like, I thought that was the weirdest thing. And the other thing was, what's that thing that people say that drives me nuts? Not unapproachable. It's intimidating. I hate that word because if anybody knows me, I'm okay. Basically, I'm a goofball. I am a
Uh-huh.
total goof. I mean, when I'm not in drag, I'm a dork, and I just say the stupidest things, and I laugh about everything. So I always feel like the one thing that I will tell you as a person, coming from me, is that what, don't forget to laugh because you'll know number one, with me, if I'm not laughing, there's a problem. And just be on alert. But I just even I've told my kids, their whole life, you got to remember to laugh and enjoy life. Laugh at yourself and whatnot, because the minute you stop, you know what, it's all over. You always have to have that lighthearted side, because if you don't, you're not going to make
I love that. And I think that's true. You just have to laugh. You have to look at the brighter side of life and try to live in that positivity. Now, Caress, we're almost at the end here, and then we're going to play a little game. Now,
it.
tell me what's next for Caress and Slaughter.
Well, hopefully, what's next is that we'll be like out of this quarantine, and I'll be able to do things. Ultimately, I can't wait to get back to my drag show at the Axe and Fiddle in
Oh, yeah.
Cottage Grove.
And
Um,
that's your drag brunch that you do out there, correct?
yes, and I can't wait to, because this is my show where I invite people from everywhere to do it. And I love it because it's all ages. It's at a great venue. If people don't know about it, Axe and Fiddle, you should look it up. It's a beautiful venue. The food there is amazing, and Alyssa Gonzalez, she's amazing. She's one of the best people I've ever worked with, and they opened the doors back up, for limited seating. Yeah, from what I know, and they're on their up and up again, which I'm happy for. But yeah, there's that. And it's so funny because I think all of us queens are saying it. I'm trying to find my loophole niche into the whole virtual world here, where I want to create my own channel, and that'll probably consist of just like everyday shit, just talking about everything, having people over, just to talk about things, or via Zoom. So yeah.
Here's a suggestion. How about an OnlyFans page?
No. I I don't think my boyfriend would agree with that. Babe,
Well,
what about all
dang,
things fit?
damn it. You can't
You
blame a
know,
queen for trying.
oh
Well,
my God. I asked my boyfriend, I said, how about that, babe? And he goes, maybe. And I'm like, see, no.
well, a girl can still dream. So, Caress, as I've mentioned, you have known me from the very, very, very beginning, and you have seen me grow throughout the years. Do you have any funny or crazy stories, including the one and only Maliena Bitchcock? And don't bring up the one for Bride,
The one from Pride? Is that what you said?
the costume story.
Oh, yeah. you know, you know I gotta bring that up. Okay, for those people out there, once upon a time, when me, Diva, and Daphne went to go see Maliena, apparently one of her dresses, or a couple of her dresses, ended up missing, and she, for years, thought I took it. It was finally resolved that I did not. I'm all because if anybody think this child was skinny back in the day, not this child, that child was skinny.
I was
And
way skinny.
there's no way I would have been able to fit in your dress.
I
And
don't think
I'm
you took
like,
it.
I did give you a compliment, so maybe that was why you thought maybe that was like evidence towards success, maybe. But no, I love me a good like that dress was good. I remember those dresses; they were really cute. The Oriental dresses with the long slits on the side, they were so
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah,
But no,
no, it's so funny because I was so dumb and young back then. It's like I remember that the next day I got home and started unpacking stuff. I'm like, wait, there's like a whole bag of shit missing. And I remember going to the coordinator and like, oh yeah, we gave it to the other drag queens and they took it with them. And you did what? And that's when I was like, bitches, give me my shit back. But no, I love it. And I have one of my favorite memories with you is my first time to Damsels. And I have known who you were for years. And I remember seeing you on stage, and I'm just there in the second row watching you. And I realized that people were getting up and giving you tips. And one of my favorite memories was getting up and just handing you that dollar and you kind of leaning down, look at me in the eyes and saying, hey, beautiful, I see you. And I'm like, oh, she knows who I am.
yeah, I do love that venue. I love that venue because it's really cool because you can have people come up and do that, and and it's nice to see familiar faces and stuff. It just because like I said, I get nervous on that stage every year, so it's just like it's nice to see someone that you're familiar with because it gives you like it kind of anchors you down, and it's really nice that way.
Absolutely. Now, we have one last question before we go into our finale, and that is, what did you think of your experience on Bitch Talk with Bitchcock?
I think that girl, you got your shit together. I will be honest. When I saw you were gonna do this, I was like, girl, I was like, what are you gonna do? I mean, like, and I thought, I'm like, the one thing I love is that even from day one of knowing you, even when you may not have had your whole aesthetic together back in the day in Southern Oregon, but the thing is, like, you always have had things together as you organize
Mm-hmm.
and you think things out and sometimes in the case where there's so many people who want to do things they don't always do that. That's just like me with me not doing a channel yet of what I've wanted to do for years. It's because I need to sit down and take that time to make everything perfect and make sure that I have all my I's dotted and my T's crossed. And for you, I think I love this. I think you are doing an amazing job doing this, and it's well thought out, and it's really good to see you to know you from that queen from down south, and then now being this fully realized woman that what you're doing, and you're doing it professionally, and it's very good. So kudos to you for being able to find this and be able to do it.
Thank you. I mean, I'm getting all emotional here myself just hearing that because, again, you're one of the first drag queens I ever met. You, Diva, and Daphne. And I remember looking at you guys like you were these supreme goddesses. And like, I'm never going to get to who they are. And it's like to hear you, it's like this full 180 where I'm hearing someone who I've looked up to for almost my whole drag career telling me how impressed they are. And it's like, stop it. I'm getting all emotional. Well, I
Well,
love it. Karress, again, I want to thank you for coming on Bitch Talk with Bitchcock, but I don't want you to go anywhere because we're going to play a couple of games. Also, I just want to make some announcements. First and foremost, if you've enjoyed this fantastic interview and you really enjoy getting to know the one and only Karress Ann Slaughter, I want you to look down below within the description where you can find her PayPal, Venmo, Cash App information so you can tip both me and Karress for doing this fantastic interview. Also, I do want to make a quick announcement that you can also see down below within the description information where you can support Black Lives Matter. Matter. That's right, boys and girls and all those in between. You have several links that you can support the George Floyd Memorial Fund. You can donate to the Bail Fund out in Portland, and you can also just donate to the Black Lives Matter Fund. So it is important this day and age, especially with everything happening within our community and everything that we are struggling with in the world, to support this movement. Karress, do you have anything that you would like to say on the Black Lives Matter movement?
Sorry, found it. um, on Black Lives Matter. Oh, this is a deep one. So me as a person, being a Black person, seeing all these atrocities, there's, I can't even tell you how I feel, because I mean, there's anger, I feel like I'm going through all the emotions. And then in the middle of this like quarantine, it's just like one hit after another, and it's hard to think that I'm going through what my dad went through. I'm going through what my grandfather went through, or my grandmother, my mother. And I never thought that, when I'm turning 50, that I would have to deal and see all this different, it's like one thing after another right now, just in general, because life is rough,
Yeah, it is.
and it's not easy for me. And then when this just erupted, and thank God that now the light is being shown on all these things, and that we are seeing it more. It's horrifying, but now it's more visible, and it's just sad that we're going through this. And just like being a person of the queer community, it's like we are seen as second class citizens. But first and foremost, my skin color is being has always been seen as a second class citizen.
Right.
And it's seeing all my brothers and sisters have all this stuff happen to them. I can't describe how it feels, because there's nothing. I wouldn't want anybody to feel like this, to see your own people and see their lives snuffed out, and just be on mainstream media for the world to see. I couldn't even imagine what that, speaking of George Floyd, I couldn't even imagine what his mother felt like. I can't even, me having 3 daughters, and knowing that they are Black women, they are biracial, but the world will always see them as Black women. I could not even imagine what it would be like to see something happen to one of my kids. I can't even stand someone talking to one of my children the wrong way. And for it to be so extreme to that their life was lost, it's the most horrible thing to know that some people feel like that's okay. People in power feel like that's okay. And it's definitely not okay and should never have been. And we were talking about, that, doing drag and whatnot is like a drug. It's sad because the people who do these things are using their power like it's a drug. Because there's no other reason why you would ever need to do that to someone. And my view of it, I come from the, I guess we would say old school, where MLK Jr. peacefully protested and was arrested, and was, assaulted and whatnot, and eventually assassinated. It just, I come from that place of trying your best to be very, very calm and collected. And we're seeing that doesn't even matter. And people are still getting hurt. And people think it's okay. But I don't agree with, I will say, I don't agree with rioting. I don't, But you know what? I'm not one to sit here and tell someone how their protest to be. I'm not saying, and people maybe call me a flip flopper or whatever, a flip flopper or anything. That's their own business and that's their own opinion. But my life here in Eugene and seeing people wreck things is ridiculous. But other cities that I don't live in and I don't know that demographic because I was not raised in that demographic. I can't tell them that means is it necessary for them. You
Right.
know, I just want people to be safe and to be able to protest another day. I don't want them to put themselves in harm's way or put other people in harm's way because ultimately it comes down to also where, I know people say all cops are bad. I know people who are in law enforcement and they're very close to me. And it's not the cops that cops are bad, it's the system. It's that like thing that takes over them where they feel like having that power to be able to do anything, do anything they want. That's what's wrong. It's not cops. And I saw today, I showed Michael and I sent it out on my Instagram about where this girl was like trying to have, it was a white woman and her words, like part of it was where she said, I'm sorry. I think she said Karen, but she said, I'm sorry, Karen, it's not blue lives that matter. It's a blue fucking shirt. Black lives matter because we are black people.
Right.
Blue lives matter. You're not blue. You're wearing a blue shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And you are being trained to supposedly de-escalate situations, not go to the extreme where you're taking someone's life, and it's just like you really can't tell someone how it feels unless you're in that demographic and you're in that color and you're in that skin. You can't tell someone how it feels. And even seeing that happen, I I couldn't even wish that upon someone. You know, it it's a weird place we live now, these days, and it's hard. I will not lie, it's hard to see that shit on the news and see, and online and people sharing it and sharing it and sharing it. Yeah, I get it that we need to be woke and we need to know what's going on. But it gets to the point where it's like you're also giving on the flip side people who want to back that and think it's okay. And it's a slippery slope. And
You
I
know,
hope we get past it. I hope we get past it and it gets better. But we're like, I feel like we haven't even reached the peak yet.
no,
And
I don't think we have either, Chris. And but it's going to be a long, steady fight. And I do think that people are going to keep fighting until their voices are heard and things change. And a lot needs to change, including a restructuring of the police force and the training that goes behind of what they do, including sensitivity training, de-escalation training, the way they subdue people, because it is a problem and it does need to change. And that's again, people aren't going to quiet down until these changes happen.
yeah, I mean, right now, there's everybody, they're trying to defund the police. And I read something, about that. And I'm totally all for it. But what does suck is I feel as if they should rephrase it because immediately when you hear defund, people think that means don't give them funds whatsoever. And but you still have people on a power trip where they feel like, oh, you're gonna ruin everything. And it's like, no, we're just number one, it's like one thing that is in their favor is the fact that by by allocating different funds to different things in different cities to deal with different types of situations where you don't need to come locked and loaded, as so to speak, to someone drunk on a street or someone who has some drug problem, or someone, you know, we've talked about this before too, someone who's autistic. You know, there are different ways to deal with people, and there's no way cops in a 6-week training period are trained to deal with everything that they're going to encounter on the streets. That's not possible. I mean, other countries go through longer training than we do and schooling to become a cop, you know? So it just, you know, I'm all about, you know, defund the police, or I wish it was called something else so people don't freak out. But, you know, that ultimately will help them with their stress and to help them with, you know, the you know, non-needed pressures of doing their job. I mean, because like Cahoots here in town, they do a lot more things than people think they do. And they were on the national news representing Eugene, saying that, you know, they could be part of the defunding, you know, where they could get more money for their needs and Whitebird and whatnot, so they can deal with a person who may be intoxicated or and they already deal with this already, you know, but on a regular basis. So the cops aren't called on someone who's like high on something, and they're being like the guy who was on the girl. Did you know hear about the guy on the railroad crossing sign here in town?
Oh my God, I did hear about that. I didn't know all the tea, but some guy
Yeah,
supposedly
girl.
stayed
We'll talk about.
overnight naked.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Not more about that. Not on this interview because I got some stuff to tell you. But
Oh,
because I was up at 1. I was up at 1 o'clock in the morning and seeing the live feed of what was going on. But back to what I was, you know, what I was saying. But you know, it would help. It would like lessen the load. It would be so much better. And I just, you know, right now I've cried over this shit, you know, and I just, it's a sad place to be. You know, African American men, you know, being hung in the United States now in 2020, being found ruled as a suicide. I'm all like, you know, it's just like common sense, which they say is not so common anymore.
right.
And it's just, it's a corrupt system. It needs to be recalibrated, so to speak. It needs to, you know, things need, you know, every workbook has to be updated. And that shouldn't be just a schoolwork. That could, or your job's workbook. You know, everybody needs to do training because things are not the same. They change.
It's true. And I mean, there's going to be an evolution and there's going to be changes that need to happen. And hopefully, this whole movement and revolution that's happening is going to make those changes. But I just need to emphasize one thing for anyone watching is make your voice heard, go and vote. That's the biggest thing we can do to try to make a difference because the person who's in charge right now and who's in the White House is causing more issues than solutions and is a big problem. So make sure you do go out and vote and make your voice heard because that is important. Karress, I don't want to cut you down too short, and if we need to, I'm down to record something a little extra to talk more on this about with you. But we are kind of running out of time, so I am going to move into one of our games in just a minute. I do just want to make a quick announcement. Again, look down below within the description where you can donate to the Black Lives Matter movement and also donate to this beautiful creature that is Karress and Slaughter. And I want you to tune in this Monday for our next episode of Bitch Talk with Bitchcock for episode 40 as I interview Eugene's drag king themselves, Miles Long. He is going to spill all the tea about being a drag king and just hang out with the one and only Bitchcock. Now, love, before we go into our game, I also just wanted to take a quick moment to actually do a moment of silence in honor of a dear friend of yours and someone who has had a big impact within the Eugene and Portland community who has recently passed away. I know this might be a little bit of an emotional part for you, and I will try to keep this moment, but there's a legendary queen named Topaz Crawford who was part of the Glamazons and has been renowned all through Oregon. She has recently passed away, and it has hit our community hard. I want to take a 15-second moment of silence to honor her, and then I'm going to give Karress just a moment to talk about a memory and just say something nice. So if you all don't mind, we're going to take here and sit here for 15 seconds in silence as honor for Topaz Crawford. Now, Karress, do you have anything you would like to say in honor of Topaz?
If you didn't get to meet her, she was an amazing person. She did her own thing, and she was she was my favorite '80s queen. And people call it, you know, she was a punk queen too, and she'll be missed. You know, she had her ups and downs like all of us, but the one thing, you know, regardless, I think she's been amazing. I mean, she was amazing. um, I just want everybody to, you know, like always, regardless of things that you may have heard or anything about her, you know, in the past or present, you know, because she was having some problems here and there, you know, with people. You know, she was a good person. She had a really good heart, and there's nobody like her. And I'm gonna miss her. You know, we were supposed to get together, you know, right before she passed away, but yeah, it's one of those things. You know, you can't worry about the what ifs, but I regret that. But you know what? I have memories of doing shows with her. One of my favorite is when we did "Blow Your Mind" by Eve and Gwen Stefani at Glamazons, and that was my favorite performance we did because we decided to do it and we really didn't know all the words. And, so it was just fun. She gave me the snakeskin suit to wear that I barely could fit, and I couldn't bend over in because I thought I was gonna rip it out. But we got through the number, and I'll never forget that. And many times we would get together and drink wine and watch Drag Race together. So she'll be missed. She'll definitely be missed.
It's truly beautiful, and I do thank you for saying something, Karress. And again, Topaz, you are very missed, and a lot of people are going to miss you. So thank you again for allowing us just to have that moment and talk about that. Now, Karress, to go to a brighter side, to end this on a positive note, because we just talked about a lot of serious shit, do you want to play a little game with me?
Let's do it.
So, we are running out of a little time, but as I always say, these interviews will go as short or as long as they need to go, and this is a pure example that this may need to be a longer episode.
I know. I didn't realize it was like 2 hours. I was like, I asked my husband, how long has it been? He's like 2 hours. I'm like,
I know, girl. That's why I'm like, come on, girl. We have to stay on time. But it's fine because we have important things we need to talk about. And again, this will take as long as it needs to take. And now, to end it on a positive note, let's play some games. And we're going to play these a little quicker, if you don't mind. And the first one we're going to do is a Bitch Talk with Bitchcock favorite that we like to usually call Truth or Drink. But because you don't drink but love your marijuana, we are going to play Truth or Dab. And how this will work is we're going to ask a series of shady questions, and you can either answer truthfully and spill all the tea, or you can take a dab hit off of that wonderful little dab pen of yours. Are you ready to play?
let's do it.
Fantastic. First and foremost, let's start with, who is your favorite Glamazon?
um, oh boy. I love all my sisters because we've evolved like with all of them. So I mean, because there's more than just what we have now. I would say Diva. I'm gonna say Diva. Because she's known me the longest, and sometimes our moments down in the dressing room or in the dressing room where we are, we will say random shit, and we'll be down there cracking up like we're fools for no reason. And it just, yeah, we always find a way to crack each other up and say some random shit. So I would say Diva, my mother, and not just because she's my mother.
Oh boy, I love it. And out of all the glamazons for round 2, out of all the glamazons, which one of you is the most notorious for being late to shows?
Obviously me.
What?
It would be it would be me. I'm the worst. I literally am. The reason why my reasoning is because I was like, it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna be on until like the end of the set, so no big deal. So it's me. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna take a dab anyway, but I'm not gonna lie. It's me.
Well, girl, I mean, the one thing I never understood, especially recently finding out that you literally live only a block away from the venue. How are you always late? But it's fine. I love it. For round 3, in your opinion, who is the most overrated drag queen in Eugene? Are you going to take a hit? Ooh, she's not going to spill the tea on that one.
Yeah.
Nope. Well, then, how about for number 4? You tell us a funny or crazy backstage story.
We're in Bend, pardon me. We're in Bend, and speaking of Diva Simone Slaughter, went out to have a cigarette, and we're at this. We have this event we do at Poison Waters every year, like I mentioned earlier. And so we went over there, and our location has moved so many times. So we end up being at this community center, kind of churchy looking place. And so Diva wanted to go out to have a cigarette, and she comes back in limping, and she's like, "What's wrong with me? I don't understand what's wrong with me." And she's like, and of course, people always joke about having a stroke or whatever. She's like, "I don't understand what's happening." And she said, "I can't walk straight." Somehow she went outside and she came back in, and she had this huge ass rock, like this size, in between her heel and the front of her foot. And it wedged in there, and she didn't even know it was there. And she looked, as I pointed out, I was like, "Girl, there is a rock in your shoe, like literally in your heel area." And she looks down, and we laughed so hard over that for like the whole night. And I don't know if she kept the rock because it was hilarious. It was like this little mini boulder that was presented. She couldn't walk straight. I don't know why she didn't look down, but that's probably one of the funniest, craziest things I've seen backstage. It was weird.
Oh my God. Oh my God, I love it. Okay, we have one last question for Truth or Dab. And have you, in your years of entertaining, ever taken a man home from a drag show?
Okay, is this the full purpose of me taking home because I'm a woman at the time?
Well, yeah, sometimes a woman has some itches that she needs scratched.
Okay, yeah, I have more than one.
Girl, honestly, I've asked this question to almost all the queens, and I've only had one girl tell me she's never taken a man home, and I'm like, "You're a liar! You're a liar!"
Who's the one who said they hadn't?
Huh?
Who was the one who said they didn't?
I think it was Nicole Serene. Maybe it wasn't. I have to look back through the who it was, and I'll let you know. Okay, we have one last game, and this one is one of my favorites. This one gets you in all sorts of trouble, but it's still a Bitch Talk with Bitchcock favorite that we like to call Marry, Kai Kai, or Cancel. And how this is going to work is I'm going to name a series of 3 names at you, and you're going to tell me out of those 3 names who you want to marry, who you would kai-kai with, which is fucking, and who you want to see their shows get canceled forever. You
This is,
ready?
yeah, I'm ready. This is horrible, but go ahead.
Oh, I know. It's so fun to watch my guests squirm. And first round, we, of course, have your sister, of course, from here in Eugene, Oregon, Daphne Bertha Storm, the bitch from Salem, Miss Fabulonza, and then your drag mother, Miss Diva Simone Slaughter.
Oh God. Okay. Daphne, Diva, and
Fabby.
Fabulonza?
Yes.
Okay. I would marry Fabulon. Oh wait. Oh God, man. um, oh, I would marry Daphne, Kai Fabulonza, and cancel Diva. Because I'm
You
the
just
next slaughter in
canceled your
line.
drag mother.
Because I'm the next one in line.
That's right, bitch. Get rid of the competition. Get rid of the
Oh,
old
God,
Supreme.
that was horrible.
Okay. Well, it's only going to get harder from here. For round two, I'm going to make this really hard because I'm picking members of your own drag family, including the one and only Bonnie Rose, the beautiful and talented Monique LaFay, and then, of course, Uranus the Fool.
um, I just gotta think it out. Not think. Okay.
I love watching the cogs turn.
Bonnie, Uranus, or Monique.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I would marry Monique. Kai Uranus. Sorry, Bonnie. You gotta
Oh,
leave.
shit. You just canceled Bonnie Rose. Well,
Oh
shit.
no, I feel so bad because I love her.
I know. Bonnie, don't sue us. Don't cancel Bitch Talk with Bitchcock because you got canceled. Well,
I went. I did this on Slutasia show a long time ago, and oh my God, this is horrible because the people always come back at you because even though it's funny, they're still. I'm gonna hear about this.
well, for everyone watching, this is just for fun and games. Don't get all pissed off. This is just to have a little kiki and have a little fun. Now let's switch to some boys because everything's better with some boys. And as we go to round three for the one and only Donnie Dune Fox, the handsome and suave Christopher Dean, and then my emperor, Hunter Down Knightley.
God damn it. Okay, Donnie, Hunter, Christopher. Oh man.
And be careful, Nikki is a very jealous queen, and she'll cut you if you try to
Actually,
type
I'm gonna hear about, I already know. I'm gonna hear about this. I'm gonna hear about this. Okay, so Mary Donnie, Kai Christopher, cancel Hunter.
You canceled my emperor?
I thought he was taking a break.
Well, that's true, but oh my goodness, Nikki, I can't wait to hear what you think about Karress wanting to kai with your man. The tea's gonna be real.
Oh God, it's
Well,
oh
now to make
God.
this really hard for you, for your last question and your last round of Mary Kai or Cancel, we have one of your favorite guests or glamazons, the one and only Scarlet Trick, the beautiful and talented live rapping queen herself, the one and only Slutasia, and then to really fuck with you, your host of this fantastic talk show and one of your homegirl girls, Maliena Bitchcock.
So yeah, this. Okay, I'm gonna say it real quick so I can get it over with. I would marry Maliena because we have the same size clothes. I would kai. Was it Scarlet?
Scarlet or Slutasia?
I would kai Scarlet, and I'm only gonna cancel Slutasia because we're not in the same lane in drag. Because she does drag and she is a musical genius. I don't do that part, so she has her own lane to be
in. I mean, that sounded like a little bit of a pageant answer, but I'll take it. Okay, I love it. Well, that was it. Well, unless you want, I have one more bonus round if you really want to do it. We are a little over time, but I'll let you do it if you want.
Okay, I'll just do it. I'm scared. I'll just do it though.
Okay, for your bonus round, we have the Darcel diva herself, Miss Poison Waters, your Glamazon sister, and someone is probably going to kick your ass for kai-kaiing her man, Miss Nicole Serene Storm, and then the Empress of, well, not Empress of Salem right now, but the Queen of Salem herself, Miss Riri Caliente.
Riri, Nicole, Poison. Oh my.
Bitch, what can I say?
Marie, no, Poison, Nicole, Riri. Okay, I'm gonna say it. I would marry Riri, Kai, Nicole. That way it'll be a threesome. And I'm sorry, Poison, I'm canceling you. Doesn't really matter. We don't live in the same city. Like,
Well, girl, that was a real tease. See, I told you it was going to be so much fun. Well,
I get so much anxiety over that game. I get so much anxiety.
I know. It's actually fun to watch my guests squirm. That's the only reason I love keep doing it. And, you know, my smart guests actually come back with questions and names for me to answer, but I'm not giving you that power today, bitch. Well, next people and all of you boys and girls and all those in between, I want to thank you for tuning in to another fantastic episode of Bitch Talk with Bitchcock, as we had the legendary queen herself, Karress and Slaughter. Thank you again, Karress.
Thanks for having me. It was a blast. It really was. You, girl, you got your game together. I should have taken so long to do this.
See, I told you, girl, I may look messy, but I know what I'm doing. It was such an honor to have you here, and I want you all to tune into our next episode coming up this Monday, again, as I interview the drag king himself, Miles Long. It's definitely going to be an interview not to forget. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this fantastic episode, please look down in the description where you can find both me and Karess's tipping information. I also want to encourage you to donate to Black Lives Matter right now, any way you can with your time, your finances, or your energy. Again, every little bit will help in this movement. And all of you beautiful people, I want to thank you for your support, and I can't wait to see you for our next episode of Bitch Talk with Bitchcock. In the meantime, stay safe, have fun, and I hope you have a fantastic weekend. You all have fun now. Bye!